Hello everybody, welcome to our session for Mental Health Month. This is the health benefits of singing. My name is Alex and I am joining you from the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land from which I am joining this webinar today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, both past, present, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who are joining us today. So I think this is a great chance for everyone to find their chat feature. The option for the chat should be located at the bottom of your screens, and let everyone know where you are joining from today. If you are joining also from Gadigal land or from wherever you are in Sydney or Australia. Hello from Sydney. We've got a few people chiming in. Someone from Perth, from the Noongar Nation, long way away. Thank you for joining us. You can also change your chat settings from host and panelists to everyone. There's just a little drop-down menu above the chat box so that everyone can see your comment. Someone from the Gubbi Gubbi land up in Queensland. It is wonderful to have you all here today. This event is brought to you by the Music Performance Unit at UNSW as part of UNSW's Mental Health Month program. It's supported by Strategy 2025 funding that is dedicated to enhancing UNSW's support for students and enhancing student mental health. So now that we have got the housekeeping out of the way, I'll quickly introduce myself. Some of you do know me already, but many of you do not. My name is Alex Seegers. I am the Music Engagement Assistant at UNSW. And when I'm not working at UNSW, and sometimes when I am, I'm a singer and a music educator. So I studied a Bachelor of Music in Jazz at Conservatorium of Music in Sydney, and I studied a Bachelor of Arts in Linguistics. I sing with the choir of St James, King Street, regularly as an alto. I perform for Musica Viva in schools with the Murray Project, performing early music and Renaissance music to primary schools around the country. And many of the things that I'm going to be talking to you about today are things that I've observed in my work as a musician and as an educator. But I'm going to dig down into some of the science that backs up a lot of the stuff that I think many of us already know is true, that singing is really powerful. And to start things off, I am just going to share a little video with you. This is from a project I did with Sydney Philharmonia choirs a few years ago.
3, 4. Girls, we run this mother, yeah! Girls, we run this mother, yeah!
I'm Sally Wewell and I'm here with Sydney Philharmonia choirs doing this fantastic sing-along, Belt Your Anthem for All About Women 2018.
We run the world, girls, we run the world, girls, girls.
Today is just about having a sing, having a go. So you turn up, we supply song sheets with the words and the music and stuff on them. We do a bit of a warm-up to get our bodies ready for singing, and then we just learn these songs and sing through them and have a good time.
I think I need a barber. None of these boys can fight me. I'm so good with this. I remind you I'm in the hood with this book.
Belt Your Anthem was so much fun. Seeing that sea of women in front of me who have fought these fights. It was really beautiful. You could see it pouring out of them, and they all seemed to have heaps of fun, and it was such a privilege to be a part of it.
This power of love we can devour.
Oh my goodness, you're so good.
Hot topic is the way that we rhyme. Hot topic is the way that we rhyme. One step behind the drum style.
Well, we came here today to just because we are, we're proud to be women, and we wanted to be part of it. And like the singing is just it's fun and it's really empowering.
Belcher Anthem just meant to me that everybody was going to get a chance to sing and be part of All About Women.
One, two.
Favourite song is always I Am Woman, Helen Reddy's anthem.
I think that both mine and your favourite song was I Am the Woman, because it's just so inspiring and powerful.
Singing I Am Woman with the women who grew up with that music was just out. I was going to cry. I was going to cry seeing these women just pouring their hearts and souls out to me, and it's such an anthem.
Oh yes, I am wise, but it's wisdom born in pain. Yes, I paid the price, but look how much I gain. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, strong. I am invincible, woman. I was watching you. I'm completely distracted. Completely 100% distracted.
So I hope that got you into the mood. For those of you who have just joined us, welcome to the health benefits of singing. Feel free to let us know what Indigenous land you're joining us from in the chat. And just before we move on, I will let you guys know that there is a Q&A button or function also found in that menu down the bottom. And if there are any questions that come up during my talk, feel free to pop your question there in the Q&A, and at the end we'll have some time to go through and answer all of your burning questions. So, a bit of context. When I was researching for this talk, I contacted the Australian National Choral Association about the statistics that we have on choir participation in Australia. Anecdotally, we know that there are over 1,000 members of ANCA, and many of them are community choirs. In 2012, there were 152 Sing Australia groups across Australia. So that with 1,000 choirs, and we're assuming at least one person in every choir, we know that there are thousands of people involved in singing around the country. And there are several government initiatives to support these new community choirs, and I really hope that is sustained in the future, because singing in choirs not only benefits us individually, but our whole community, which I will talk about a bit more as we continue. So, because singing is so accessible, group singing has become the #1 community activity in Victoria. We don't have statistics for the other states, but I imagine it's probably quite similar across the rest of the country. Obviously, COVID restrictions notwithstanding. Additionally, participating in singing activities is generally quite sustained. So there's some research coming out of America, from Chorus America, that showed the average length of membership with a choir is 5.5 years. So, and that ranged from less than a month to 50 years. I know that there are some members of groups like the Collegium Musicum Choir at UNSW, which have had members for coming up 30 years now. So it's definitely, once you're in, some people are really in. Similarly, Chorus America estimated that there were 54 million adults and children who regularly sang in the USA from their 2009 research. And I imagine the percentages are probably pretty similar for Australia, but we just don't have that data. Similarly, in Europe, millions and millions of Europeans singing every year. And in addition to that, we know that of these choral singers in our community, nearly 20% of them say that choral singing has helped relieved or improved some of their chronic health conditions, and that those who participate in these choirs have fewer physical limitations than general public of the same age. Additionally, they've reported that it makes them feel less lonely. And we're going to be getting into more detail as we go on today. So, to help me get to know all of you a bit better, our producer Alice, who is in the wings, is going to send through a short poll for you. asking whether you are a member of a choir, if you have previously been a member of a choir, or if you are not currently a member of a choir. Obviously, current COVID restrictions make it difficult, but assuming that that is going to very soon be a past memory. So it's looking like a large percentage of you, we've got 64%, 65% of you are currently singing in choirs. 19% of you have previously sung in choirs, and 17% of you are not singers. So that's more than I was expecting. Hopefully after this chat, you will be chomping at the bit to be joining a choir. Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, there we go. Final results. 65%. I'll share those with you. 65% are currently in choirs, 18% were previously in choirs, and 17% of you are not in a choir. Fascinating stuff. Interesting division. And feel free to elaborate in the chat. So, where do you begin a talk on choral music? Well, I thought I should briefly go back to the beginning. Greek philosophers were among the first in Western culture to speculate about the effects of music on our body's chemistry and on our feelings. Singing is something that we can all do. It is the oldest and only ubiquitous form of music creation across time and cultures. Singing plays a central role in our lives and shared community experiences, and this has been true for every culture for as far back as we can trace human ancestors. There are a few theories about the development of music and singing and language. One of the most striking that I came across in preparing for this talk today was that music predates language, or at least developed from the same proto-language or proto-music. Some evolutionary theorists argue that it was musicality that allowed hominids to develop what is known as the social brain. That is, by creating a shared emotional experience and increasing members' pro-social behaviours, group singing supported complex social networks. So, singing in choirs is what helped us develop into the society that we are today, which I think is pretty remarkable. So now we're going to quickly scope through the benefits of singing in a choir that we're going to cover in the remainder of this chat. I'm going to look at some of the physical benefits of singing, so the benefits to our respiratory health, our cardiac health, our immune health, as well as our neurological benefits. The benefits of, that slide's disappeared. I also am going to talk about the social benefits, the way that it benefits us socially, and the way it benefits us psychologically, which are similar but slightly different. So starting off, going to look at the social benefits of singing. Group singing helps us forge social bonds, and it does so particularly quickly compared to other group activities, making it the perfect icebreaker and the perfect way to bond social networks, which is particularly valuable in today's often alienating world where lots of our social interactions happen online. I don't know about you, but most of my closest friends are people who I have sung with, whether it was during school, at university, or as a professional. This is a quote from Professor Robin Dunbar, an evolutionary psychologist from Oxford University. Our ability to make music and our continued making of music in groups is fundamental to our ability to hold together large communities, which I think is quite profound and a pretty strong argument for continued music education and music participation in our society. So there have been a lot of studies which have utilised various methodologies to determine the social benefits of singing in groups. And these various studies, I read through a bunch of different ones, and this is what I have found. that singing in groups increase self-confidence, empowerment, well-being, and interpersonal skills. It imbibes people with a sense of joy and accomplishment, lowered feelings of social isolation, depression, and anxiety, increased social capital through participation in social, cultural, and community activities, as well as denser social and friendship networks. So it is a hugely important thing for our society. So now I'm going to share with you another video. This is from the PBS show titled Music Instinct, and it is looking at the musical brain as the social brain. I will just cue that up for you all.
If you look at music performance, there's no activity that we do that allows the brain to do so many things at once at such a complicated coordination and with such depth. But of course, music is actually intrinsically social. So the idea is today we're going to scan you.
Neuroscientist Lawrence Parsons asked British rock stars Jarvis Cocker and Richard Hawley to help out with a new experiment.
Sometimes you'll be singing by yourself, sometimes you'll be singing together. It'll be a bit unusual because you'll be lying on your back.
That's not that unusual.
Good point. And singing. That's funny.
Yeah, that's not more unusual.
And the idea is that sort of new edge of research is to look at people interacting together while they do music, which is, of course, what music is about.
Yeah, whatever you want, you know.
And then we'll do Jarvis.
We were probably both curious to know whether we had any brain left after many years in the music industry. When you write songs, you don't really know where they come from, and so it's kind of seems interesting to find out what's going on in your head. It's always something I've been a bit curious about.
Yeah, to unravel the mystery of that.
We're on. We're going.
Okay, let's do it.
All of the work published in the past have looked at a single person's brain doing a single musical experience. It's worth looking at what brain areas involved when you really do social, pairwise, in this case, musical performance. And this is complicated, coordinated social work, as well as cognitive work, since there's a lot of millisecond decision planning as you go along.
When he analyzed the scans, Parsons did find differences in brain activity when Cocker sang alone compared to when he sang with Hawley playing guitar. During the duet, Cocker's brain was more active in areas for phrasing and coordinating music, as well as cognitive and emotional interaction.
Okay, so looking at the neurological differences, just zooming in on that picture that they showed us in that clip, we can see the differences neurologically between when we're singing alone, which is that way, versus when we're singing with the guitar, which is this second one. So in the brain scans when Joe was singing with the guitar, the parts of his brain that are lit up relate to phrasing, cognitive work, and emotional work. So there's the need for reciprocity, empathy, and the part of the social brain gets switched on when you are performing with someone else, as opposed to when you are singing by yourself. And this effect is mirrored or mimicked in in choral singing. So you're engaging that empathy social part of your brain when you are singing with other people versus when you're singing by yourself. This is another study that was done looking at the social benefits of group singing. This is a study called Sing Up in the UK, investigating the correlation between social inclusion and singing ability. And what they found was that singing ability was related to the connection that they felt in class. So the better they were at singing, the more socially included they felt. The worse they were at singing, the less socially included they felt. So if we're having a look, the green line is the schools that participated in the Sing Up programs, and the blue is the schools that didn't participate in the Sing Up programs. So even though there was a difference between the students who felt more socially included, I'm in mirror, more socially included to less socially included, it's that way. The schools that didn't participate in the Sing Up program at all, so the ones with no singing, the blue lines, were all lower down. So even if they didn't feel as included because they weren't as good at singing, they still were doing so much better than the students that weren't singing at all, which I think is a really powerful insight. This study was replicated again in Italy, in the Musica region Emilia-Romagna. In this study, 1 year later, the children who took part in the choral program were followed up with, and they were still reporting higher levels of social inclusion 1 year later than those who didn't take part in the choral program, which I think is really powerful as well. I think this is a chance for me to see what your experiences with music education were. You can just type in the chat. Give me a number 1 if your singing was a big part of your education. A number 2 if you sang but you didn't sing at school or at university, you had to go and find your singing elsewhere. Or 3 if you didn't have many opportunities to sing growing up. A couple of 1s, a couple of 3s, a couple of 2s and 3s. Lots of 1s, which is great to see. Hopefully going forward, we have fewer 3s. More opportunities to sing for young Australians is what we are hoping for. Oh, this is great. I'm so glad to see how many of you had music interwoven into your educations. There we go. Someone said that singing was compulsory at all schools in Switzerland. Imagine that in Australia. Everyone having to sing. Oh, this is great. Oh. Now, I'm just going to share another video with you that was from one of the schools that participated in the Sing Up program. This is at Wells Cathedral in the UK. And getting the kids, what the kids thought about their experience in the Sing Up program.
I like everything about being a chorister. Singing in the cathedral was amazing, literally amazing. It's very fun. Lots of techniques that you can learn later on in life, and it helps you set up a career for yourself as well.
Some words that I've never heard before, Latin, and sometimes a little bit of German, mostly English, but Latin is quite easy to learn.
I learned how to just sing properly and how to almost perform. You get to have all the singing lessons.
Choir really helped me learn the French horn because by the time I'd started I could already read music from being in the choir.
I definitely feel more confident, that's for sure.
I think it's really good for the new choristers to have the experience of doing a recording.
I've only done them when I was a chorister. I really like the school because the education is very good and everyone there is really lovely and nice.
My favourite subject would probably be maths and science.
On Wednesdays I have Technology Club, which is really fun.
You meet other like-minded people.
We do quite a lot of sports here, which is good as well.
The really, really good coaches.
You can meet new people, new friends.
The other choristers settle you in perfectly and feel at home, really.
It's basically like a family.
So that was a little bit of an ad for Wells Cathedral, but I think it really captured how much joy all the students got out of singing, especially in a beautiful cathedral like that. So in this part of the Sing Up study, cathedral choristers went out to primary schools to encourage the primary school children to sing. And the children who experienced singing with the choristers had the strongest engagement with singing and also the highest social inclusion score. So these were some of the outcomes. Highest attitudes to singing, strongest reported engagement with singing, and also the highest social inclusion score. So incredibly important. And obviously, as Lee's just mentioned, the current situation, which has prohibited us from singing together, has obviously had huge implications because of that loss of social connection. Great point, Lee. So just to bring this back to my experiences, things like the Sing Up program is something that's done in some of the choirs that I perform with. Just here on the, well, I can't do left and right, I'm mirrored. On the left is the choir of St. James with the St. James Singers. I believe there are some people from St. James Singers joining us this afternoon. So the professionals, the choir of St. James, join in with the choir, the singers, as a positive experience for them to model and learn off the choir of St. James. It's a fantastic experience. I always love singing with the singers, and I often find that it is a really positive experience for them. Similarly, at the choir of St. Mary's Cathedral, where I sing occasionally, they have the boy trebles from the high school or from the primary school, and then they have the men lay clerks. And the boys, the young boys learn, they get thrown in the deep end with the professional singers, and they have to learn by doing for the most part, but they all seem to thoroughly enjoy it, and it's a fantastic education model as well. And then also similarly at Collegium Musicum Choir, we have the students who are studying the Bachelor of Music course interspersed between other singers from around the university, and to help build their musical literacy and also building social cohesion throughout the campus as a unique opportunity to bring together staff, students and community members. If you do have questions, do pop them into the Q&A so that I don't lose them before the end of the chat. You can find the Q&A function just in the menu at the bottom, and just pop your questions in there so that I can make sure I don't miss anything when we get to questions at the end. Oop, I'm just gonna play a audio file. It's from the Clean Slate Without Prejudice program, run by Tribal Warrior, which is based in Redfern, where I live. They started off as a boxing program, getting kids off the streets, working with Redfern police, but they've been teaching the kids the Bial Bial language, which is the Redfern language. And in 2019 and at the start of 2020, I worked with them and my colleague Josephine Gibson to write short songs in language. And this is a part of the program on getting the kids out of trouble with the police, building community and building a real sense of identity with the kids. So this is just a short clip of the kids singing one of the songs that they wrote in their morning session. And so this kind of work is being replicated in lots of great organisations around the country. I know that Murrumbilla Voices, based out in Western New South Wales, are doing great work with Aboriginal language and music. And Malia, a group up in Cairns, it's a really powerful tool socially to empower our Australian Aboriginal children. Moving on. I was recently introduced to the importance of lullabies by a friend of mine as a social cohesion tool. She runs a podcast called Lullaby, The First Steps, collating lullabies from around the community and around the world, teaching people how to sing them. This is important in looking at the social benefits of singing, because listening to a mother sing is one of the first experiences we ever have of singing as an infant. And it rouses their attention, and it includes lots of physical and emotional responses. You know, infants are mesmerized by their mother's infant-directed singing, and it has an immediate and profound impact on the children. And despite the children not understanding the language or the linguistics involved, lullabies are universal, and they're also recognizable in virtually every culture on Earth. And it's been observed that singing development, in fact, begins pre-birth, which is quite remarkable. The sound of the mum's voice is conducted through the bones, and the mother's emotional state is then encoded in her bloodstream, which is shared with the fetus. So when the baby is born, they already have experience of hearing things, particularly the mother's voice. So the fetus is getting an acoustic message paired with an emotional tagging of that sound in the blood, which means that the baby enters the world already recognizing and being programmed that certain sounds have a certain emotional valence. That is, sounds are happy or sounds are sad. And that is regardless of ethnic group or language or culture. And next I've got another video, also from that PBS show that we saw a video from earlier, which is looking at the importance of lullabies sung even before the child has been born. Oh. No, I'm not, because it is an unsupported file format according to Zoom. Apologies.
What we discovered is that the music itself is audible in the womb. Mary had a little lamb. What we're hearing is the rhythmic, gentle sound of the blood rushing through the uterine artery. And this is that, the way nature just allows us to evolve with rhythm all around us. And over that, we heard the sound of the external female voice. That was actually myself singing, standing next to the mother in a normal volume of voice.
This is exactly what the fetus hears, recorded by the microphone in the womb. And studies show the fetus reacts to music.
So pretty incredible stuff. Moving on from the social benefits, which are many and faceted, to the physical benefits, which are equally as remarkable and wide-reaching. I was a bit overwhelmed by the mountains of research in this field when I began to research for this talk, but I've just summarised it into a few key areas. So singing exercises the brain as well as the body. It's particularly beneficial for improving breathing, posture and muscle tension. And both listening to and participating in choral music has been shown to be effective in pain relief and triggering the release of endorphins. There are several studies documenting the respiratory benefits of singing, which is pretty unsurprising, seeing as singing is all about breath, posture, and phonation if you are doing it correctly, or even if you're not doing it correctly. It still involves breathing in some capacity. Singing involves contracting your diaphragm to control muscles on inhaling and controlling respiratory muscles on exhaling. And that happens whether you're a trained singer or not. The diaphragm is automatic in its engagement. You need to have controlled breathing in order to sing the next phrase and to hold notes and to sing different pitches. And one study found that the regular practice of singing helps improve your quality of life and preserves your maximal expiratory pressure, which is the way they measure the strength of respiratory muscles. And finally, which I believe might help a few of you out there, I know it will definitely be handy for me. Singers have a significantly lower snoring scale score compared to non-singers. That was found in a study, and they concluded that singing practice may have a role in the treatment of snoring. So for any of you with a noisy partner like myself, set them a strong diet of singing and report back with your results. Just to explore the respiratory benefits again, I've got another short video for you looking at how patients with respiratory diseases have benefited from singing. I will just cue that up right now.
Shh, shh, shh. 2, 3, 4.
I've had a lifelong lung condition, and I think my first diagnosis was when I was 6 months old in 1942.
Ha, 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 2, 3, 4, relax.
I've got COPD, and I was diagnosed 10.5 years ago.
Nice cup of tea, cup of tea.
Well, it's the getting control over the breathing and finding out more about my body, because I didn't realise quite how much was involved in singing properly, but also the social aspect. I just meet new people and, we have fun.
Swing low, sweet chariot.
Because people come with a range of breathing problems, I think that often restricts their voice. So part of the group has been addressing breathing and singing techniques, which actually have given people a voice when they didn't necessarily have one before.
There's a camaraderie, we have a good laugh, and it brings back memories of songs I thought I'd forgotten. Yeah, we are improving, and it doesn't sound too bad really, I don't think.
After about 10 minutes, I'm able to switch my oxygen off because I feel as if I've got more control over my breathing.
Well, when they first started, they could hardly get any notes out of them at all, and now they are amazingly singing songs. It's incredible what they've actually benefited from this. It's given them much better quality of life. They've improved with their lung capacity. Some of them don't tend to get any exacerbations of their COPD anymore, and they're using their inhalers less.
Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me.
Once I'm here and we start singing, I don't know, it just takes all the worries away.
I like to sing. I particularly like singing with Marianne because she really knows what she's doing. Really does make such a difference. But I've made loads of new friends, and I do look forward to it every week. It's fun, good fun.
I've suffered from depression for a long time, but a lot of people with lung diseases suffer from depression because there are lots of things we can't do anymore that we used to do and we used to enjoy. And coming here is not just good for the physical thing, but for the mental thing. We have a laugh, we have camaraderie, and the singing itself is very uplifting, so it serves both.
The BLF hope to be able to roll out this programme further, creating more groups, allowing more people to join in and really receive the positive benefits that singing for lung health can have.
Give it a go. You don't have to be a good singer, you just have to want to try and improve yourself. So yes, give it a go, and it can be great fun.
So there are several singing initiatives, especially in the UK and the USA, which are specifically designed for people with poor lung health. And one of these is the Sing for Lung Health Initiative, who produced that short video that you just watched. And so the program aims to develop awareness of your postural and breathing patterns, learn how to change your habits through breathing, postural and vocal exercises, extending your out-breath through sung phrases, improving your respiratory strength, building physical stamina, and building vocal stamina, all achieved through singing in a choir. So not all forms, there are benefits of singing to cardiac health, but not all forms of singing impact cardiac health equally. It's determined by the music sung, its tempo, its phrasing. But there is a specific type of singing which benefits our cardiac health the most. It is called toning, Toning. And it slows your respiration down to almost exactly 6 breaths per minute, and it optimizes your cardiovascular function. Toning was also shown to improve your heart rate variability. And it's also an exercise used in polyvagal theory, a form of psychological therapy, which helps people regulate their nervous system. So I'm going to show you a video of toning, and I would encourage all of you to join in and have a go at toning for yourself if you are somewhere that is toning friendly. Let's have a go. Just breathe when you need to, sing whatever note you're comfortable with. There you go, that's toning. So you can continue that for as long as you like, or you can just do it for a short burst to connect. Apologies, my internet just dropped out for a second there. The perks of Zoom. As we were, the cardiac benefits of singing. Singing songs lower your blood pressure. My blood pressure is a bit high at the moment, so maybe I should do a little bit of singing. It also benefits our immune system. Singing in groups, whether it is professional or amateur, is shown to boost our immune system. This is a graph from a 2004 study which shows the levels of salivary immunoglobulin A increase after singing. What is salivary immunoglobulin, you ask? They're the main class of antibodies present in our body's secretory fluids. So that's our snot, our spit, our mucus, and our other things like that. And it's considered the first line of defense from environmental factors. And when you sing, our immunoglobulin is increased. This is the case for professional singers as well. So even if you are singing every day as a professional singer, singing continues to elicit an immune response. It's not something that wears out over time. So these results suggest that singing in a choir can positively influence both our emotional affect and our immune competence. It is maybe the next step in our fight against COVID. Maybe I should let our health minister know. So we've moved on. We've got our respiratory health, our cardiac health, our immune health, and now our neurological health. Singing, especially singing in an ensemble, utilizes the modularity of our brain. So these are some screenshots looking at the results of a study of an adult who started singing lessons. You can see there's a lot of forebrain activity. So they're thinking a lot about doing the activity. But when you compare it to the brain scans a year after singing the lessons, there's a shift to something which is far less conscious and a shift to something which is a lot more imagery driven, a shift to the more musical centers of the brain, and far less thinking of the language and thinking about the actual task. So singing does impact the way that we use our brains. And the part of the brain that researchers are most interested in when it comes to singing is called the arcuate fasciculus. It's that top dot point there if you want to look at how that word is spelt. So it runs around either side of the head and is shaped a bit like a hair grip over the top. And so the important thing about the arcuate fasciculus is that it connects the two hemispheres of the brain. So the language centers are more biased to your left-hand side, and the more prosodic features, so pitch and rhythm, are more processed on your right-hand side. And your arcuate fasciculus links the auditory areas with the motor areas of the brain, which is implicated in the processing of language, vocal pitch, and singing in tune. So the results of this study that you are looking at right now demonstrates that if you took slices of the arcuate fasciculus of non-musicians, instrumentalists, and singers, that singers have a much more developed arcuate fasciculus than the general public and also than instruments. So the human voice particularly pays attention to this part of the brain, and the two hemispheres of a singer's brain are more connected, or connected by a larger part than the rest of our community. So this is looking here at a study that compared a healthy musician, a singer, on your left and a healthy non-musician on the right. So you can see there is a difference in the relative size of these areas. And as you begin to use certain parts of your brain more, they are enhanced and become bigger. And this is a part of the brain that is used a lot in singing. But for example, violin players, we know there's been research done about this, have a part of their brain dedicated to the tips of their fingers on their left hand. And that part of their brain is much larger compared to non-violin players because that's the part that they are constantly using. And this has implications for neuroplasticity as well, showing that our brain continues to change and grow as we age through singing. This is just a photo of me and my mum. Hi mum, if you're watching. We went and sang at my grandparents' retirement village, where some of the more abled retirees sing for those in the nursing home, getting, hello mum, getting everyone singing in the nursing home, regardless of how old they are. There are still neuroplastic benefits to all who are involved. I do recommend going and singing at your local retirement home, nursing home, once it is safe to do so. There are several groups that do this, and it is a really rewarding experience and something that the residents usually love. Also, with Christmas coming up, it's a fantastic opportunity to get singing. I'm going to whiz through the last little bit of this because we are rapidly running out of time. Psychological benefits. There are many documented psychological benefits in singing. It triggers dopamine, and that's how we feel pleasure. Choral singers report higher scores of positive mood, personal growth, vitality, and sense of purpose. And 4 in 5 patients with dementia, singing has proven to be an effective therapy, stimulating the memory. There's some fantastic research going on down at the University of Tasmania about singing and dementia, which I am keeping a close eye on. These are some other studies. There was a study done in 2006 that showed people participating in weekly community programs expressed less loneliness, had fewer trips to the doctor, and used fewer medicines than the control groups. Singing in a choir equals a reduction in cortisol. So you can see here that little red line on the graph shows the rapid reduction in your stress hormone before and after singing. So people arrive to choir rehearsal with higher cortisol levels, and 40 minutes later after singing, that it has reduced and they are relaxed. Another study showing that singing is better at doubling your oxytocin, which is your social bonding hormone, than it is just talking to people. So if you want to really up your oxytocin levels, the thing to do is sing with your friends rather than just talking to them. That might be a useful thing for anyone running rehearsals with particularly talkative choristers. Let them know that actually they'll bond better with their friends if they sing with them rather than talking. This was mimicked in another study that showed 20 minutes of singing compared, either choir singing or solo singing, improved the choral singing, improved these social bonding effects, and the hormone releases hormones in participants' brains. And finally, what about listening to choral music? For those of you who can't sing, especially at the moment, listening is as close as many of us can get to singing. You are in luck because listening to music triggers a dopamine response. The dopamine response occurs both before and while listening to music. So anticipation of listening to your favorite recording of the 16 or the King Singers or whoever your guilty indulgence might be is the same as actually listening to it. As with singing, listening to music elicits physical responses such as increase in heart rate, respiration, and decreases in temperature and your blood volume, pulse, amplitude. Listening to music also impacts our brain. This image shows centers deep within the brain that light up when you listen to your favorite music. And that's the part of your brain that's associated with reward. So that part of your brain lights up when you win the lottery, when it's your birthday, or when you listen to the choir of King's College, Cambridge sing Allegri Miserere. Well, that's if you're me. And that's the same thing whether it's a recording or whether it's a live concert. And I am strongly anticipating my return to the concert hall over these next few months as we open up again in Sydney. For those of you in Queensland, Perth and Adelaide, I hope you are reaping the benefits of the concert hall. Finally, music for pain relief. Listening to music has been documented to help with pain relief and the treatment of chronic pain. So that's not singing, that is listening. The impacts of pain relief apply whether a person has had any musical or training or not. And these effects are amplified when the music that is being listened to is music that the participant likes. So it has effects on our hormonal system and is a powerful pain relief strategy. So this is a video I'm going to show you about research into the effects of listening to music. If you give me one moment, I will cue that up for you.
Johanna Zenger loves listening to music. But she's also interested in the scientific side of what's happening when musicians play together. To successfully create a harmonious sound, the brains of the players have to be coordinated in pursuit of a common goal. The researcher believes that this neurosynchronicity occurs when the brains of musicians playing together create a neurological meta-network. According to her, the phenomenon can be described as a kind of communal brain.
Everybody has seen images of brain waves at the doctor's office or on TV. You can picture them in a very simple way as waves, and when the two guitarists are playing together, their brain waves are oscillating in the same way. That doesn't necessarily mean that the peaks and valleys of the waves come at exactly the same time, but that the intervals between the peaks and valleys are the same.
Sozusagen der Abstand zwischen Bergen und Tälern der gleiche bleibt.
These guitarists often feel a communal brain at work when they play together.
You feel it with certain processes, and when you play faster or slower, at some point the dynamics just work automatically. We've observed synchronization both within each of the individual brains and between them. What's interesting about this is that the synchronization doesn't remain the same throughout the piece the two are playing. Instead, they are...
A neurological network also appears when several musicians play together. At this experimental concert, the brain waves of some of the audience members are being recorded as well. And there are indications that their brains are also involved in or are responding to the network. Brain waves can also synchronize during other activities, for example, while playing certain sports or in conversations. Knowing more about the phenomenon could help researchers develop new therapeutic approaches.
So, first of all, after all of that, what can you do to reap the health benefits of singing in your life? Well, first and foremost, join a choir. We run a large choir here at UNSW called Collegium Musicum Choir, which is open to all. Or you can look up your local parish choir, your local community choir or music group. I know that many of you have been trading choir tips in the chat as we've been going on today, which has been fantastic. But failing that, and while we're under certain COVID restrictions here in Sydney anyway, sing in the car, sing in the shower, try out some toning while you're waiting in the traffic lights to help slow your breathing rate and slow your heart rate. I strongly believe that it benefits us both as individuals and as a community to normalise and promote music co-creation, but I don't need to tell all of you that. So this is just a little snapshot of the student support options at UNSW. Students who are in the audience, please do take a screenshot of this slide so that you can access any student support services. It is Mental Health Month at UNSW. And my colleague Alice is just going to pop in the chat a feedback form, which we are collecting as part of Mental Health Month. So if you could complete that feedback form, we would really appreciate that. I'll also email it out to everyone afterwards with the link in case it gets lost in the chat, for those of you who'd rather complete the feedback form later. And we've got a couple of minutes, so I might quickly jump onto the Q&A and answer some of these questions before we wrap up. We've got some people looking for choirs. Do just pop that in the chat. I know that just generally speaking, the Anchor website, that is the Australian National Choral Association, ANCA, have an extensive list of choirs on their website, which you can look up by region. But for the man here looking for a choir in the Parramatta area, I know that Riverside Voices is an auditioned choir if you're looking for something like that, but I'm sure that there are many other community choirs. Do have a look on the Anchor website. In terms of advertising for singers, finding bases, Facebook is a great place to start. Contacting your local choirs, finding the young men graduating from choir. Not sure how much else I can help you with that, Anne, but good luck in finding the men. I know that they are few and far between in community choirs. Best of luck with that. Here we go. We've got a question here saying, is it any style of music that gives these benefits or mainly classical music? I think depending on the research, some research has shown that the most beneficial music is music that the person likes. So if the singer likes classical music, then singing classical music and listening to classical music will be the most beneficial. But singing, regardless of the genre, as far as I understand, reaps many of the benefits, particularly the respiratory benefits, regardless of genre. The physical benefits, neurological benefits, are regardless of genre. So the classical music is just because that's what people like. I mean, who doesn't love singing Brahms' Requiem? Me. I love it. What else have we got? We've got a question about getting a copy of the slides. This video has been recorded and it will be popped up on the MPU website after the fact. And I include that in a link that I send to everyone afterwards. Question here from Marie, asking about New South Wales health restrictions. Unfortunately, I can't help you with that, Marie. You'll have to check the New South Wales Health website, especially with Premier Perrottet changing a lot of the rules that are happening at the moment. I wish I had a clear answer, but I myself am struggling to negotiate all these changes, just hoping to book a Christmas gig sometime in the near future. Thank you so much for all your questions. I've thoroughly enjoyed presenting to you this evening. I hope you can all go out and spread the good word about the benefits of singing from in all aspects of our life as individuals and as a community. Find your local choir and join it if you haven't already. And the Music Performance Unit are hosting a few other events later on in the month for Mental Health Month and also for Diversity Fest. So do check out our website to find those. And I think that is everything. I am going to end the call in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone.